Just want to quote you something before I talk about something that came to mind today. And this is something that a man wrote 2 months before he was executed in the 1950s. Here is where the cross and its mystery of suffering make their appearance. The whole of life has this piece of wood at its centre. We can have no genuine hope of peace and salvation apart from Christ crucified. Happy the man who understands this. And this was written by a man called, I'll just get his name here, servant of God Jacques Fesch, who died in 1957. And he died, he was guillotined to death in France at the time, because a capital punishment was still legal in France. And the reason he was killed, was guillotined to death, was because he had shot a policeman, an innocent man. I always find it interesting when people encounter Christ, as this man did during the 3 years before his execution in prison. And the famous book that now is being published, Light Upon the Scaffold, The Prison Letters of Jacques Fesch. I do recommend that people buy it. What is the reason that what is the reason that stops man encountering Christ? Well, there are two main reasons that stop us encountering Christ. First, people don't know about him. They haven't been taught about him, or they're just too pride to actually get on their knees and encounter Christ, encounter his message, his love, his redemption. And I can say personally, I've been guilty of that sin of pride that has stopped me encountering his grace. When often in life we think, oh, I can deal with my own problems. I can deal with this myself. I'm not feeling great, and I'm dealing with this problem. It's going around I can do it myself. I don't need anybody to deal with that. And Christ says, okay, Robert, you want to deal with your own problems? Okay, well, I'll step aside and you deal with your own problems. And you soon find out, everybody will find out at this stage, that without Christ in our life, we will construct our own world, our own way of dealing things, our own methods, our own grace as such, and it will always fail us. It will always fail us, because Christ said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. Nobody comes to the Father except through me. And until we understand Christ, his way, his cross, a man that died by capital punishment, until we understand who Christ is and what his message is, we will never understand ourselves. We will never understand what we were created for. And it's incredibly sad when I meet men that are destroying their lives, as this man did. He was married and then he divorced. He went with another woman. He fathered a child with her. He was drinking, living the pleasures of life, letting himself slowly be destroyed. And when he couldn't get what he wanted, he just stole it. And the grace of God then came into his life before he was crucified for him to understand the path in life. I mean, he even said it here. I just thought this quote was so amazing, where it says, it is the lack of humility that is making me insensitive? I could easily become violent, or at least contradiction, my heckles go up. Pride, the worst of evils, and the one that most separates us from the Lord. I have plenty of reasons to be humble, but I'm not. The more I'm knocked down, the more I stiffen my neck and cling to the pride that is my form of courage. That's what many of us do as men. We hold our pride as our form of courage, and we think, oh, I can do everything and I can do it and we're not vulnerable enough to allow Christ's grace into our lives, to allow us to open up to other people, to talk about problems, and to allow Christ work into our life. Because unless we empty ourselves of ourselves, of our pride, the Holy Spirit just cannot get into our souls. He cannot get in and work in us. He cannot get in what he needs to do. As he couldn't get into that man because that man knew everything. He had it all laid out, and I can do this and I'm going to do that. And Christ stands back and said, that's okay. You're a free man. You can do what you want because we were created free. But we will fall. We will fall without understanding our true nature, because our true nature is meant for God. For our true nature, our true being is meant to encounter the Creator that created us and to have a dialogue and a conversation with that Creator, with Christ. I'm encouraging men as Derry approaches, as the 19th approaches, and I know that there are many people coming because it has gone all around social media. I've seen it, and many people are now contacting me. You know, Christ isn't looking for the perfect person. He's looking for the person that wants to encounter him. And Christ's mercy and grace is for every single human being, no matter what you've done or what you've been through, no matter who you are or who you think you are. Christ's grace, his cross, was for every single human being on this earth. He died for everybody so that we would encounter him and know the Father. And know that the reason why we're here is to be loved by the Father. To have that embrace, to take that step as the prodigal son to return to the Father. And that's really what Derry is for men. It is for you to encounter the embrace of God the Father on that day. If whatever problem you have, please park your pride at the door in that church and walk in and just be a humble man who wants to change, who wants to know God more, who wants to know something that us men seem to be offering. You know, I can say that the more I've been humble in my life, the more I've been vulnerable, the more I've been able to let go of my pride, the more Christ has rushed into my life to help me. And it is the only way you will encounter Christ, is that humble embrace. No man, no man has it all together. No man has it all together. We all need to help each other and support each other. And that's why confession is so vital, to allow God's grace in there. And if you haven't been confessing or you don't know how to confess, on that day, just ask the priest, look, I don't know anything about confession. Can you help me? Can you guide me through this? And the priest will do that. And I do have to thank the many priests that are coming to Derry on that day. You know, you're giving up your time, you're giving up your Saturday. You might have had other plans and you've given up your time to come and help us. And please, I would ask the men that are there to pray for priests around Ireland. It's not easy. They're men like us. They're struggles like us. I was a seminarian. I know what it's like. You know, men are men, and it's not easy. And Christ has called them to help us, to have the time to show us his grace. You know, that they've given their life, and we definitely need to pray for them. And I do thank the priests that are coming up to Derry. So if you're going to confession on that day, just say, well, look, I don't know what all this is about. Can you help me? Can you lead me? And they will help you. So don't worry about it. But the only way you can encounter Christ's grace is to park your pride as a man. And this is the only way you'll encounter Christ. Christ can't work with us holding our pride in here and at the same time wanting to know him. It's either one or the other. Either we're humble and we encounter Christ, or our pride and then we know it all and we can do it all and we don't need help. Christ can't get in there. And I would say to any man that says, oh, I can't be redeemed, or I can't change, or I can't find help, you don't know Christ then, because his power is omnipotent. He can do this. He can do this. You know, and I speak with courage, conviction, and authenticity when I say this. You know, Christ changes your life. He just does. I wouldn't be doing this in my free time if I didn't believe what I'm saying is true. You know, you don't need to pay a single penny to encounter Christ's grace on that day. There is no charge or anything like this. Just come to adoration and encounter Christ's grace. The priests are coming, are doing it out of their goodwill. With, they're not asking for anything. They're coming with their heart to try and minister to us, to try and lead us to Christ's grace. And that's what it is. This is a mission for Derry on that day. And like the servant of God, Jacques Fesch, it doesn't matter what you've done. Let me put this again. It doesn't matter what you've done for Christ to heal you. He will heal any man that comes that day. He will heal any man that comes that day that parks their ego and their pride at the door of that church and come in there and humbly want to encounter Christ. He will heal you. He will heal your heart, and he will give you hope, encouragement, light, encouraging. I know this to be true. He has told me. He has told me that any man that comes to Derry on the 19th with a humble heart will be healed. His heart will be healed. There's nothing clear about this. And, it would be wrong for me not to encourage men to encounter that healing. This is what Christ wants to do. He wants to get in there and heal the hearts of the men of Derry who are suffering. If you're unemployed, if you're a drug addict, if you're an alcoholic, if you've suffered abuse, if you've done stuff that you're not proud of, he doesn't care. He wants to heal you. He wants to heal every man in Derry and to transform that city. This is his mission. That's where he will be on that day. He will walk the streets of Derry to heal men. You can't be healed as a man unless you park your pride. Christ cannot work with men who think that they know better. And, so I'm just encouraging people on that day, if you've tried everything in life and nothing has worked for you, why not humble yourself and encounter Christ? All I had to do for Christ to transform my life was to ask him, was simply to ask him. All I had to give was a little bit of myself, and he did so much in my life, and he worked on me for years and years and years, encouraging me, helping me. And now it's my time to show leadership that his love is so great that this isn't something that I can just ignore. We have to transform as men, the Catholic Church, laymen. We have to show what Christ's love means in our life. It's Christ's grace is for every single human being. Every single human being. But we have to stop the scourge of men thinking that the only solution that they have in life is to stand on a bridge and to look at water and to say, I can't do anything and this darkness can't be healed. Christ will heal hearts. He will heal lives. He will give you a vision of life, a view in life that you were not aware of, you couldn't see. He just changes everything. And nothing will remain the same after you've encountered Jesus Christ. I mean, I can say this because that's my view. That's what I've seen. I'm not afraid to talk about the God, Jesus Christ, whom I've met, whom I've been face to face with, who asked me to touch his sacred heart. And he's asking now to put that conviction in my heart so that this message reaches men that need his salvation, his hope, his touch, his care, his gaze. He's going to heal. He's going to do it. He just will. This is what he wants to do. Christ wants to heal the men of Derry. If the men of Derry want to be healed, you'll have to park your pride at the door of St. Columba's in Derry and walk in there, a humble man, and go up to a priest in that church and say, Father, can you help me? I don't know how to confess. I haven't been to confession in years. Don't know anything about this. Can you guide me? And those priests will do that. These are good priests that are coming to Derry. They're good priests there. This is a wonderful chapel. It's very big. So if you've tried everything, why not try and encounter Christ and let yourself be healed on the 19th of November in St. Columba's Long Tower Church, you know? And, you know, I do encourage people to get that book of Jacques Fesch's book. It's called Light Upon the Scaffold. You know, Christ, he'll if you let yourself, he'll come in there and heal you, and he'll transform your life. He simply will. You know, it's quite amazing. You know what we could do if we allowed ourselves to encounter Christ. So, no, just share this video around. And as I said, we're not looking for anything on that day apart from men to be healed. Christ wants to heal, but he can't heal unless you park your pride. Anyway, God bless. Take care, and pray for the church, and pray for adoration and what's going to happen on the 19th. God bless.